like such a blessing for you guys to jump on and take time out of your day just to kind of regroup with a team. But I think that there's power in numbers. I think that when you're doing this business, you can get lonely and distracted and defeated and discouraged. And it's these moments where it's almost like we're virtually, locking arms with each other and kind of regaining our strength and kind of standing back up where we were. And so, these Monday night Zooms are such a way for us just to kind of connect together as a group and collaborate and bring our strengths together in hopes that it's going to push us further. So this is never about wasting your time. It's never about just fluff stuff to make you feel good. We really want to pour into you and remind you your purpose and what you're doing. My dog just found something. Hold on, I gotta get this or he's gonna eat it. They're like worse than kids. I finally get the kids to bed and the dogs have to act up. It's just ridiculous. So I try to put some notes together, and to be honest with you, I'm really bad at this because sometimes I just have to speak out from my heart. And I can't lie to you to say that Satan wasn't just like, Jess, you say the same things over and over. It's just like, think of something new. And it was just like, talk about the business, talk about how they can post better and filter. And honestly, that's just not my strong suit. And I don't want to pretend and waste your time, like I said, with fluff that I think that you want to hear. I want to speak this out and pray that it touches the ears of someone who might just be so defeated and need that encouragement. And so I'm not even sure if there's rhyme or reason to like what I'm going to say tonight, but I hope that it will impact you in a way that tomorrow when you wake up, you kind of like get out of bed a little more straighter. You're just like you're standing a little bit taller. You're kind of going into the day a little bit more confident. I'm going to shoot my dogs real quick. 1 second. I'm going to put them in the other room because now they want to play. Guys, come on. Right now. Shame on you. God have mercy on my soul. Nothing like a distraction when you're trying to like really get into a zone. But I wanted to talk about vision. And I know that there's certain words in this industry, at least for me, that I feel like we hear them repeat, and I call them sexy words. They're kind of like, oh yeah, that feels so good. Like I want to break through and my vision is clear and my mindset and all of this. And we can kind of toss them around, but not really like soak in the meaning of it. And so I want to talk about vision tonight, but I want to break it down that we can literally apply it to what our lives are, because your vision for this business, for your life, for your finances, for your health, for your future, if you don't have a clear, solid vision for what you're doing, you might as well quit now. And I don't say that to be mean or rude or anything, but it will waste your precious time if you don't know what you're fighting for, but you sign up to fight. And so I don't want to put you guys in a ring where you're boxing and you're out of breath and you're getting hit and you're a little bit bloody, but you have no idea what you're boxing for, what you're fighting for, because at the end of the day, you're just going to be bruised and bloody and you won't have anything to say for it. And so you have got to develop such a clear vision that nothing can rock it. And so to try to put it in terms that might be a little bit easier, I've been in this for 5 years. When I say I've had every conversation in the book, believe me when I say I've had every conversation in the book. And when I haven't had the conversations, I've watched. I've seen people come into this industry and sign up with me and have that fire and say, I need this VIP. I need this to work. And 3 days later, they're full of doubt and insecurity. And they're like, why did I even push submit? And it's like, whoa, time out. You have zero vision for what you're doing. We've got to establish that or you're not going to get anywhere. And so I wanted to kind of break it down like you going to a place, right? When we use our GPS navigation on our phone, which we're so blessed with, because I would be one lost person in the world. Like how our parents did it, I don't know, because I literally still use the GPS for like things in my local town, even though I've lived here for like 4 years. I just like don't get to know my surroundings and things like that. And so when we put a destination in our GPS, We know that all of the roads and all of the turns and all of the traffic and all of the detours are going to lead us to that destination. So when we get to a place that we're unfamiliar with, when we get to a turn that we wouldn't have known to take, when we get to a traffic jam, we're not frustrated because we know that this isn't going to take us away from where we originally put in the GPS. We know that our destination is still in front of us. So we bear and grin it. We sit there in the traffic. We take the turn it tells us to take. We slow down when it's a slow zone. We speed up if we're on a highway. We do what it tells us to do because our destination is where we want to go. And it doesn't matter how many turns we take along the way. We've trusted this navigation system to lead us there. When you push submit to Lavelle, when you joined this team, my team, when you said yes to whoever your upline is, you said, this is where I want to go, and this is the roads that are going to lead me there. Yet, without fail, there are so many of you, or you're going to have to, deal with this when you grow your organization, who are like, oh my God, I just turned left and I don't know where I'm at and I'm freaking out and you have to remind them of where their destination is. You might be on a road that's unfamiliar right now. You might be in a traffic jam. You might be on a detour. You might have a roadblock right now. But remember what your destination was, where you're going, what you're wanting to accomplish at the end of this. And too many of us are looking right at the street in front of us, not at the end little dot that we put in, not at where we want to see ourselves in the future years. And so for me, I was like, how can some people be so quick to quit? Like, I feel like I didn't have it in me to walk away. So like, how can people get to this place? And then I realized that everybody really is different, but like a lot of people don't see how long it took me to get to even this place. In 2013, I drove an hour to work, and on that full hour drive, I cried my whole freaking way to work because I had just dropped off my kid at daycare and he hated it. And he cried and he screamed, yet I had to just take him off of my body and get in the car and drive to a job I didn't even like. That was in 2013, before I even knew this industry existed. And I prayed to God on those roads because I lived in Boston, and half the year it snows and it's these terrible drives. Sometimes it would take me 3.5 hours to get home to my kid, and I would miss seeing him for the day. And I would pray, God, give me a way out of this. Give me something that can get me closer to my goal. I had no idea that meant I was going to make more money at home with my future family of 5. I had no idea it was going to lead me to a company that I would fail miserably at, that would then lead me to another company. I didn't see the full picture. I was on one road, but I knew that I wanted more. And sometimes your destination doesn't have to be so solid clear. Sometimes it just has to be that you want more, that this isn't enough. And so 2013, I prayed those prayers. So in 2020, August 16th, when they handed me my little redheaded baby, and I looked at him in my eyes and I was like, I can't leave you. I can't leave you anymore. And I found the industry and I started working with network marketing. I'm about to celebrate 5 years of doing this at home. I will never forget those prayers then. So 2020, it looks great, but I was on an unforeseen road 5 years ago. And so you have to sometimes appreciate this journey and all the turns that come with it, because that's what leads you to your destination. So when you're talking with your team, you have to remind them of this. When you're feeling defeated, you have to remind yourself of that. I have to have conversations with myself many times. Last year was a shit show for me, if I'm honest. Last year was horrid. There was a lot of behind the scenes you guys didn't get to see of pure defeat where I was like, this is stupid. Why am I in this industry? I can't even enroll. There were months that I couldn't get a customer. You guys didn't see the traffic jams that I was going through personally. You didn't see that because I knew my destination was still ahead of me. And if I parked my car during the traffic jam, I would have lived my life in a street, in a place that God never designed for me to be, that my goals never were surrounded around, that my vision never, I would have settled for a second best vision. And I couldn't do that. So I kept pressing on and I kept pressing on. And you guys have to learn that endurance. You've got to learn to push the gas, even if you're in an area that you don't know how to navigate through. I always think about too, like when we talk about, you know, airplanes and flying and getting off the ground, right? And that, like, it sounds so like goosebumpy to be like, okay, I want to fly, I want to soar, I want to like do all the things, right? It sounds so great to say it, but no one pays attention to how much force has to go into a plane to lift off the ground. No one talks about the amount of road it takes for a plane to really gain its momentum before it could lift its wheels off, or it's going to be flat on the ground. No one talks about the pressure behind that engine that's going to push it up. I believe it was TD Jakes who said this, so freaking good. He talked about, he has a book called Soar actually, and it's actually geared for entrepreneurship minds and things like that. And so would be a good one to put on the list if you haven't read it. But he talks about the Wright brothers and how they built the first plane basically in a bicycle shop. And everyone would have laughed at them and be like, how are you building a plane in a bicycle shop? Well, some of you guys are in your bicycle shop season right now, and you're trying to build something that's bigger than you. It's bigger than what everyone else can see, but you have to focus in so clear to your vision that you are building something that's going to change the whole entire world in a bicycle shop. And so you got to appreciate your bicycle shop moments. And they talked about with the Wright brothers that when you fly, you have to break a law to actually get in flight, right? You have to, how does he say it? So the law of gravity is what pulls you down, right? So for you to really take off in a plane, you have to get to a certain place that you break the law of gravity and you enter the law of aerodynamics. And this is what's happening. A lot of people sign up for this industry. Your team is going to sign up with you and they're going to want to break the law of gravity. So they're going to put a little effort in, but guess what? That law of gravity is strong and it's going to keep them coming down. Their past, their doubt, their shame, their insecurities, all of it, their family telling them no, it's going to keep bringing them down, down, down. And unless they bring that force up to keep going with that momentum, they'll never be able to break out of gravity to hit the aerodynamics and actually fly. You have to leave behind the old to accept the new. You can't be the same person you were 2 years ago and expect to live a different life next year. You got to give one up. So every time I have doubt, guess what? That means I can't have confidence in that same place. Every time I give in to defeat, I can't have victory. So one has to give. And so it's like, I want you this week to say, what law am I giving into? You can't have a death grip of your past. Like my pastor says, you can't have a death grip of your past and expect to move into your future. It doesn't work like that, ladies. And your team's going to need you to be so solid in this that when they get defeated, you can say, honey, listen, it's going to take work. It's going to take effort, but what's your vision? See, my vision was my family. My vision was so freaking strong that it didn't matter how many no's I got. It didn't matter how hard this journey's been. It didn't matter how many companies I had to go through. I can't tell you how much rejection I have felt over 2 years. I can't tell you how many defeats that I've had, how many blows to the faces I feel like I've conquered. But my vision had to stay on that. You can't tell me you're doing this for your kids and then give up on, month 3 and be like, well, it wasn't for me. Well, then you weren't really doing it for your kids. You were doing it for validation and you didn't get it. And so you gave in too fast. Call it for what it is. You can't give up on your vision so quick if your vision is important to you. My vision was important to me. My family needed different. My kids needed their mom. I wanted to be there for them. I wanted my husband to not have the weight of the world on his shoulders when he came home at night. I wanted to do different. So I pressed on from the law of gravity, when everything tried to pull me down, when my insecurities screamed in my face, when people left my business. Do you know that I had probably hundreds of promoters that walked away from me last year after investment of time and energy, just walked, so this isn't for me. That gets to you after a while. But if I would have let it get me down, I would have been in a plane on the ground. And a plane isn't designed to stay on the ground. It's designed to fly. And I have way too much inside of me. Listen to me when I say this. You have way too much inside of you to live second best to your vision, second best to your goal, second best to your purpose. You got to do what you were designed to do. You know, I don't know if you watched that clip I sent of Stephen Furtick in our group, but he was talking about how, like, for your mom and dad, despite if you like your mom or dad, or if they're still here, or whatever the situation is, but your mom and dad, when they connected and your DNA was created, that is so crazy. God could have literally had your parents connect an hour later and you wouldn't be on this earth. Do you realize how important that makes you? That means that you don't just sit in a plane and watch the others fly by. That means that you're gifted and purposeful, and every breath you have on this side of heaven holds value and purpose. You aren't just a single mom. You aren't just a divorced mom, divorced woman. You aren't just a traumatized little girl. You aren't just a recovering addict. You aren't just, an abused survivor, whatever, fill in the blank. You aren't just that. You're so much more. And everyone you impact and everyone you connect with is the same thing. I watched Epstein's documentary, which was probably not good to do. But in a weird way, it really striked. I'm not talking right. I don't know. Just go with it. It's what's the word? Struck. Got it. It struck my vision even stronger, because if you watch it, there are hundreds of women who went to his house and were sexually abused because of his power and money. And every single one of them talked about how they came from a bad home, where they weren't sure of themselves, how he called them pretty, or he gave them purpose. And so they were trapped in a situation where they couldn't get out of, because someone finally just spoke life into them, that they became vulnerable. And the saddest part about the documentary was that at the end of it, they talk about how they became cutters, how they became depressed, how life will never really get better. They just have learned how to deal with it, how they're just surviving. And I realized that I have that same kind of story, a little bit different, but I mean, it wasn't Epstein, but like, I survived that abuse too. And I'm like, I don't want my story to end with me surviving my days. I don't want my story to end with me cutting. She said that she would cut because self-inflicted pain would then take her eyes off the actual pain in her heart. And I was like, I don't want that to be my end story. I don't want that to be the thing that speaks over my life. I don't want that into that chapter. And so I'm doing something different. I'm standing up when I want to lay down. I'm getting up and putting myself out there. You guys, there's a lot of single moms on our group You guys could start a movement that says, you know what? Just because you're a single mom doesn't mean you have to be broke, looking for charitable donations around the clock, can't pay your bills, need assistance for food. There's a stereotype that's going around. I look at my mom's group all the time that's like, I'm a single mom and I need help. I'm a single mom and I need help. I'm a single mom and I need help. How about we change that script? How about I'm a single mom and I have a college savings fund for all my kids? How about I'm a single mom and I help single moms all over the world provide for themselves as if they are the man and the woman? I am a single mom and I did a damn thing for my family and for my future. Nothing's going to stop the end of my story because I was afraid to move, or I was afraid to keep going, or I was afraid to defy gravity, or I was afraid to get to that place where I started to rise and then I let something bring me down and something bring me down and something bring me down. You can't afford to do that. So when you started this business, when you push submit, when you take time out of your day to say happy birthdays to strangers that you don't know, which is a side note, don't underestimate the bicycle shop season. Put that in your head. So when you say happy birthdays, that might sound like the stupidest little IPA that you could do every day. You have no idea if that person you're saying happy birthday to hasn't been spoken to like that in forever and is a survivor of sex abuse, and they're waiting for someone to say, I see you and I hear you and you're valuable and you're worth it. Don't underestimate what you have your hands on. Don't limit this to a couple posts about your products. Make this be everything that you are designed to be. Make this a big vision, a sturdy vision, one that can't be rocked when things go low or when sales aren't coming in. And so I want you guys to wake up with your vision back in front of you. Why did you sign up? And who told you that you can't make it? Because I know to God it wasn't me. And I know to God it's probably not someone on this team. And I know to God it's the enemy trying to tell you that you can't do this, that you'll never be, that you're not good enough. You're just going to always live this life down here. I'm here to tell you that God has put you in a plane, and it's going to take some force, and it's going to take a runway, and it's going to take some momentum, and it's going to take some speed, and it's going to take your engines going at full force, and it's going to take some power and commitment. But you were made to fly, and you will reach your destination if you keep your destination in front of you. And all the twists and turns that you go along the way should really just be part of your story at the end of it. Really should just be that little detour that brought you here. You know, when all the Ultimate Thriver thing finished, I had a girl from my church really put it in perspective for me. She was like, Jess, she kept saying it in every text message she would send. She would say, are you seeing this? Are you seeing this? Are you seeing this? And I needed someone to remind me, am I seeing this? Because 6 months before, I was hyped up on depression medicines, and I was in the middle of severe panic attacks because I said to them, I said, I feel like God brought me here, but I feel useless, and I feel like I'm not getting anywhere, and I feel like I haven't promoted, and I feel like I don't enroll, and I cried, and I was like, I don't think I'm made for this industry, and I sat there and I cried, and I was like, but God told me that I was going to impact somebody one day. God told me that I was going to have a stage one day where people would say, okay, because she didn't give up, I'm not going to give up. Because she can do it, I can do it. I could see the vision of it clearly, but guess what? The law of gravity, it was bringing me down. It was bringing me down. And I needed my friend to remind me this week, are you seeing this? That this was your prayer last year, that this was the very thing you saw God say, I know you're going to do this in me. I know you're going to be able to speak through my life. Are you guys in that place? Are you frustrated and you're wondering, you know, am I ever going to make it? Hold tight, because your story is about to change, and you're going to look back and someone on this team is going to say, are you seeing it clearly? Are you seeing it clearly? Have you seen how you've been able to impact people? Have you seen how you've been able to get to that next place for your family? And then you're going to be an instrument for someone else to do that for too. And so I just want to remind you guys to put the destination in front of you. What you define as success is up to you. That could be raising a hell of a family. That could be raising like kids that are respectful and beautiful and they know their loves, and they're not going to end up in some creepy guy's house because they needed somebody somewhere just to tell them that they were beautiful. That might be success for you. You fight like hell for that. Then that, if that's success for you, that's what you put in front of you every day, and you show up every day, because you know when you show up and you're consistent and you do what you need to do, you're going to reach your destination. Maybe it is money. Don't be ashamed to need money. Money is on my list. I want a house for my family. I want to provide bills and pay off debt that weighs us down every single month. I want to be able to say yes to my kids. That's not a bad thing. I will fight for it. I will show up in my stories. I will keep posting. I'll keep connecting. When I add to my network, I can easily say this is mundane and stupid and I don't really want to unfollow people, and I really don't want to follow people, so I'm just going to wait for them to come to me. But instead I say, I'm not just following people. I'm creating financial freedom for my family. You can ask anyone who is a friend of mine. When I do something with my business, I never say this is for my paycheck to raise. If triple commissions come out, it's never that. When the Ultimate Thriver came out, I never said that's $25,000. I said, that's my house. That's my house. That's my house. When I get that paycheck, that's my house. That's a grocery bill. That's a bill. You have to identify what you're reaching for so that it becomes personal for you. When I say happy birthdays, I'm like, that's impact. That's influence. That's speaking life over to someone. When I'm connecting, when I'm adding people on Instagram, I don't just say, oh, I'm mass enrolling today or mass adding. No, I say, this is my lifeline to freedom. This is my lifeline to my vision. This is my lifeline. This is the breakthrough I'm praying for. This is the entryway to that next level. You have to start looking at what you're doing on a daily basis as part of the roads that's going to lead you to your destination. If not, you're going to be frustrated that you're on a side road at a stop sign right now. And you can't be frustrated, because that stop sign is going to keep you in a place where you can look both ways and then proceed forward to the next stop. And so hopefully that reaches somebody tonight. I know I've said this before, but I did write it down. I'll leave you with this. I probably said it multiple times. Let me see if I said any, if I left anything out. Actually, this is a good quote. You have to develop your resistance to the irrelevant that's distracting you from your destiny. That's good. That is good. You have to develop resistance to the irrelevant. So some of you guys are way too distracted to even get to your destination. See, your map is on, your navigation's on, you got the music blaring, you're looking out the window and you're like passing streets and you're not paying attention. You gotta get so good at the resistance to the irrelevant. If it doesn't grow you, if it doesn't bring you to your next level, leave it behind. It's not for you. But I love that my pastor says this, and T.D. Jakes says it in the Sword Book, is we pray for God to give us a table and chairs, and he doesn't give us tables and chairs. He gives us trees, and he expects you to work. He expects you to hustle. There's too many of us that are like, well, God's going to just send the rain. And he's like, well, no, actually, I designed you to be able to use your mind and your gifts and your talents to produce income. So we can't keep praying for breakthrough and then sit back and not work for it. Stephen Furtick said it this way. He was going into like a songwriting session for their new CD. And he said that as he was walking in, he said, God, give me a song. And he felt like he just like heard God, speak back to him, not like audible or anything, but like back to him, like, Stephen, I can't give you a song because I already gave you chords, and I gave you music theory, and I gave you a guitar, and I gave you gifts. Like, you give me a song. Like, I'm waiting on you. And so some of you guys, you have your vision and you have your destination, but you think it's going to fall in your lap. You have to actually get in the car and put it into your GPS, and you have to actually push the pedal and start driving. You're going to have to come against that traffic and those detours. You're going to have to. God didn't expect you just to sit back and allow him to do this. He has set you up with the gifts that you have, the person that you are, the abilities that you possess for you to make this work. So your 12K, your 40K, your 80K, that's on you. You are gifted enough to do that. And if you feel like you're not, look in the mirror and say, who told me I can't? Who told me I'm not good enough? Who told me I'll just be this? Who told me I'll have to settle with this life? Who told me? Because God didn't. He said, honey, you want a table and chairs? Go for it. I gave you trees. Go break them down and mold them and create the thing that you need, and stop praying for it, because it's already in front of you. You already have the tools in front of you. You already have the vehicle and the navigation. You just need to get in the car and keep driving and keep going and keep moving. And eventually you're going to get to that destination, and you're going to look back and be like, wow, I remember, 5 years ago when I prayed for this moment. I remember 10 years ago when I thought full-time family was out of the cards for me. I remember when I wanted to give up 3 months in, but I didn't. And now I'm here making 5-10 grand a month. You know what I mean? So I hope that helps someone tonight. I don't want to keep you all night, so I'm going to go ahead and end this. And I love you guys. And know that, I don't know how to say it without just being so repetitive, but know that your story has an amazing ending attached to it. You're just holding the pen right now, and it's up to you to write such a beautiful ending. It's up to you, and nothing and no one can stop you. If you want it, you can get it. And there's too many people who are like, I can't do it. I can't get it. I can't do it. I can't get it. Silence the noise. If you want it, you can get it. I love you guys.